right, how is everyone today? Oh man, big day. Big day. Big day of news. Oh my God. Jeez Louise. We are live on YouTube. My moderator, Jill. I see you. Thank you for coming. How are you today, Jill? Get you up on TikTok over here. Lots of stuff to talk about today. Lots of stuff to talk about today. Wow, crazy stuff happening. How are you, Jill?
Good, how are you?
Oh man, I'm scattered. I'm like Waffle House hash browns. I'm scattered, smothered, and covered in bullshit. Hi, Steve, Jules. How are you, Steve? Hi, sister. BP. Hello, Karen. Thank you for coming back. Sylvia. I don't even know where to start today, Jill. I need a shot of whiskey or something.
Oh no. Remember the guy last night?
Huh?
Remember the guy last night was like, you've been drinking too much or something?
I need a drink today. I need a drink today.
Me too. That's so weird. I could use one myself.
You ready for some good news? Well, you came to the wrong place, brother, because there ain't no good news around here. Not today. Oh, man. Gas prices are $3.09 today on a national average. Same as yesterday, the day before. Oil is 68. It's dropped a little bit with some of the news that came out today. Natural gas is up. I've told y'all forever, when oil drops, natural gas will rise. We saw that big time today. Natural gas is way up today. You had to keep in mind, it was like 370. Today's like 412. So that's your utility bills. Wow. Let me blow this. I'm just going to get right into this. I've been researching. I'm having some difficulty finding. I'm on the wrong thing here. I don't know if you saw my video about the revised GDP numbers for the first quarter of 2025, what they're forecasting. Friday, they had lowered it from a 2.9% GDP growth to a 1.5% contraction. A 1.5% contraction. And today, they're saying a 2.8% contraction in GDP growth. 2.8% contraction is what they are forecasting. This has not happened, right? This is a forecast. So it's not happened. We had a 2.3% GDP growth in the fourth quarter of 24. If our GDP falls and contracts by 2.8%, and that's the numbers we have at the end of March, that'll be a 5.1% contraction in GDP growth. Those are Great Recession numbers. I just want people to understand that those are the type of numbers we saw during the worst quarters of the Great Recession. I'll let you sit on that for a minute. Hopefully they're wrong, obviously. I've been trying to find, with some difficulty, I may be glad, I've been trying to find sort of the historical accuracy of the Atlanta Fed. How accurate are they historically, right? This is the data that everyone's using. Not enough people are talking about this, and it makes me wonder if there are some issues with their forecasting historically. Are they off? Are they typically really good? I can't even find it. So I'm going to keep digging for that because that matters. You have to keep digging, right? You can't just find data and then say that's good, right? You have to go another step and another step after that and another step after that. I want to see how historically accurate the Atlanta Fed is, because that matters. It won't tell us a lot, but it could make us feel a little bit better if they suck at this. But I honestly, I don't think they do. I just want to find out. Okay? Is that because of the blackout? No, it has nothing to do with the blackout. Yeah, has nothing to do. And yeah, I'm getting to that, Brian. So in response to the Atlanta Fed saying we're going to, I mean, this is basically saying we're going to be in a deep recession, okay? Recession is 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. If you have a 2.8% in a quarter, you're not coming out of that in the next one. We're going to be in a deep recession if this is true. A deep recession. The Trump administration's response to that is we need to change the way we calculate GDP now. We need to change the way we calculate GDP. We don't like this. If that sounds familiar to you, it's like if we stop testing people for COVID, we'll have less cases. Right? It's the same thing. Changing the way the GDP number is calculated doesn't change the fact that we will be, in fact, in a really bad recession if this is true. I don't know that this is true, but the Fed is saying this is coming. So we'll just change the way we figure it. That'll make everyone feel better. You doing okay? Doing okay, Jill?
Am I okay? No,
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't know what's wrong, okay? But I use that all the time with the COVID thing, right? Don't test and there won't be no cases. I use that for everything, and that was perfect, yeah.
Yeah. The capable Gober says if we stop investigating homicides, there won't be any more, right? Ah, man. And of course, this is all occurring the day before tariffs kick in on Canada and Mexico and are doubled on China. These numbers could be revised down even further. I mean, I'm not saying they will be, but I'm saying Friday it was 1.5. What's today? Tuesday? Monday? I don't even know what day it is. But Friday it's 1.5. Today it's 2.8. I have a comment here from Juju. My PI says the Atlanta Fed's GDP Now forecast model is based purely on mathematical modeling and current economic data without any subjective input from analysts. It's not an official forecast. Thank you for that, Juju. That gives us some hope. I fully understand. I hate to even have to say this. A lot of people will celebrate if this happens. I won't be one of those people. A lot of people will celebrate. I won't be one. This is nothing to celebrate if this turns out to be true, and I hope it's not. But, and then, oh my gosh. We have Gay Valamont, the Democratic candidate for the 1st District of Florida, on camera saying they changed the name of the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America so they could drill baby drill. She's basically repeating MAGA talking points as the Democratic candidate. She's repeating the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard as the Democratic candidate. Just blew my mind. Blew my mind. And of course, me, I'm going to call people out. I don't care what your party is. And there's a lot of Democrats hating my guts and livers right now because I called her out. Why are you calling her out? Why are you harder on her than you are? Suddenly, I'm MAGA. I never call out MAGA, and I'm pro MAGA, and I'm calling her out, right? Suddenly, I've never said anything about MAGA saying that. Suddenly, I'm madder at her than I am at MAGA. And honestly, I am madder at her than I am MAGA because I expect MAGA to say stupid shit. I don't expect seemingly normal people to say stupid shit. But apparently, she's not as seemingly normal as I thought she was. And I get it. You know, it's crazy to me that a lot of Democrats want me to be silent on things concerning Democrats because there's an election at stake. I don't stop talking because there's an election coming up. That's not how this works. I don't show favor to anyone. And if your expectation of me is to stay silent for the betterment of the movement, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. Somebody has to stand up and say, this is bullshit. Why is she saying this ridiculous stuff? I don't care what party she's in. You can be pissed off. I don't care. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
That is how it should be done anyway, where it doesn't matter who's a part of it. If you're doing something that like that, then you should be, called out.
Here's the deal. Here's the rub, okay? Democrats believe that I side with them because I'm an anti-Trumper, right? Which I am. That doesn't mean I'm on your side, right? That doesn't mean I'm waving a Democratic flag. It means I'm anti-Trumper. I agree with many of the values of the Democratic Party, but that doesn't mean you get a pass. That's not what that means. I agree with many of the values of the Republican Party too. The problem is the Republican Party isn't the Republican Party anymore. They've become something else. So I can't say that I agree with much of anything with the current Republican Party, but some more traditional conservative views I hold. I also hold a lot of more centrist and progressive views, right? I'm a mixed bag of views. That's what I am. But above all, I'm always going to try to tell it like it is. People tell me that I could be a lot more successful in this type of stuff if I would just pick a side. That's not how it works. I will either fail telling the truth, and that will be the end of it, or I will succeed telling the truth, but I will not be lying to people to make them feel better. That's not a thing. So hopefully these forecasts are way off. They need to be way off, right? They need to be 2.8% off is what they need to be. That's why I like you, Mr. Global. Thank you, Juju. Yeah, we've lost a lot of the common sense in this country. We've handed over our values to political parties, right? We really have. Towing the party line will cost you more of your dignity than anything ever will. It was 1.8 yesterday. Yes, they have further revised it down. But I'm glad you're here today, Juju, to tell us that what you told us about the Fed not being official numbers and using computer modeling. That's the type of data I've been looking for the last 45 minutes. I got started late because I made a bunch of content this morning before I went live with you guys. And about 45 minutes before we started here, I started researching the accuracy of the Atlanta Fed. The only thing I could find was their accuracy during the pandemic. And I didn't think I could really have an accurate or, a real opinion of their overall accuracy just based on what happened during the pandemic, because that's like a once in a lifetime event. And I would guess that most everybody got forecasts wrong about what was going to happen to the economy in a global pandemic. Like, I didn't feel like that was a good baseline, a good historical baseline to kind of go from. So I didn't want to use that, right? And I couldn't find their accuracy outside of the pandemic. So thank you for that, Juju. We got a live goal on the TikTok live, Corn. Also, please don't forget to gift the moderator. It's really important when you're researching things, when you find the first number you're looking for, go find how that number came to be that number. And then when you find that, go find the thing that created that. Like, keep going. One of the ways people fail when they're researching things is they go look for the first thing that makes them happy or mad, and they stop right there and they make content. Hey, this number says this. Okay, but why? Why does that number say that? Right? And then when you find out why that number says that, then go find out why you found the thing that told you why the number, keep going. Take it another step or two. Get to the bottom of it. That's how you're supposed to research. Do you put weight in the Dow being an indicator? Not a lot, because unless it moves a lot, right? Like the Dow, the stock market is so sort of controlled by the wealthy now. It's hard to look at it, unless it just crashes and burns. It's hard, and I'm not an economics guy. I'm not a finance guy. I can't look at history of the Dow and make some determination of what's about to happen. I don't have that skill set. So I do rely on, what others are saying for some of that, like the Fed, right? And yeah, markets are getting hammered. Oil's down, right? If you go read anything about why oil is down today, whatever they tell you is not why it's down. Anytime you read about oil prices, any commodity, look at the price or whatever, but don't even bother reading the why, because they don't have a clue. They always say something stupid. Oil, the things that are down today are down because the Fed revised this to 2.8. That's why things are down. Has nothing to do with OPEC. Has nothing to do with the 7 other things that they will come up with trying to explain why oil fell $1 today or whatever. Has nothing to do with any of that. This is why everything is down. Because the Atlanta Fed came out and said 2.8% contraction in the economy. That's, yeah. There's nothing scarier than that. Right? And no matter how accurate it is, people obviously look at that. People obviously look at it. That's right. The market is fickle. So we'll see what happens. I wish some other organizations would come out. If this is off, I wish other organizations would come out with maybe their forecasts. And maybe they are out and I just haven't seen them yet. The last thing that needs to happen is for panic and stuff to be caused by this. That's the last thing. Panic in itself can cause this to be worse. like when we ran out of toilet paper, right? Yes, Trump is saying the tariffs are on. So the tariffs are on, right? We'll we'll see what happens to the stock market tomorrow and commodity prices. The tariffs, when do they start? They start tomorrow. Tariffs start tomorrow. So I am sure if, Smarty Pants said earlier he basically sold all his stock a couple of weeks ago. Probably a good move. Smarty Pants. Listen, if everything crashes, buy Boeing. That's what rich people tell me. If everything crashes, buy Boeing. The government will never let it fail. It's the most subsidized company in the world. Buy Boeing. Too big to fail. People that bought Boeing during the pandemic like 20x their investments. Buy Boeing. That's the only stock advice you'll ever get from me. Where are we at? Thank you. Thank you very much. The Dow is down 700 points. you know, uh, the Dow being down 700 points in 2025 isn't super significant. I remember when the Dow dropped 700 points when I was a kid. That was a huge thing, right? That's a total crash. 700 points. I mean, it stings a little, but it's not a huge drop. Look at the percentage and not the number. Remember, what's the Dow? It's probably over 40,000, easy. 700. I mean, that's not a good day, but that's not the end of the world either. If it does that for a week straight, we got. If it does that for a week straight, holy shit. That's right, capable Gober. It's 43,000. Yeah, 700 is not that much. Um, sometimes, and like I said, I'm not an economist. I'm not all knowing on the Dow. That's for damn sure. But people get excited when they see numbers. I think it makes them think of a time in history, and they think how bad a 700-point drop was, even 15 years ago, 10 years ago. But it's when the Dow's at 43, 700's, that's not a crash. It's not at all a crash. Cars will go up $2,000 to $4,000 each. F-150s will be really expensive, being all aluminum. Heck, might be a good time to sell my F-150. Might be a good time to sell. Have you talked about OPEC plus oil stuff today? I've not talked about OPEC plus oil stuff today, but I talked about it the other day, and it's basically the same thing. And that's why I told people not pay attention to the news when they talk about oil prices, because the oil price, the drop we saw today, it's 68 bucks, dollar something, whatever it dropped. Not large, not really significant, right? But oil was climbing. Last night and this morning, oil was up. I told you oil would be up today because of the what the hell? What the hell did Donald Trump do? I told you oil would be up today. Oh, the failure of the peace talks. With the peace talks falling apart, I said oil will be up today, and it was. It was up. It was up last night. It was up this morning. And then the Atlanta Fed come out with this number over here and said, hey, we revised our GDP to negative 2.8%, and oil lost everything it had gained and lost some more. But what you will read in the news is that that drop has something to do with OPEC Plus increasing production by 138,000 barrels a day. That's not a thing. That has nothing to do with that drop. 138,000 barrels a day is a drop in the bucket. A drop in the bucket. The easiest way to look at it is, less than a 1/10 of 1% increase in oil production, in oil on the market, is not going to result in a 2% decrease in oil prices, right? That doesn't make any sense, right? Your prices aren't going to drop by 20x your production increase. So it has nothing to do with OPEC Plus. This is all about these Atlanta Fed numbers. This is about Fed numbers, and this is about tariffs. And people are getting really scared. Markets are getting really scared. It has nothing to do with OPEC Plus. Nothing at all. Smarty Pants says, if oil support doesn't hold at 67 to 69, the next big support is 63. Yeah. I was thinking about 65, but it could be 63. Absolutely could be. If what's happening today continues, there's no telling, right? There's no telling. Mr. Global, I attempted to sub to you on Blue Sky, and one of your clone accounts showed up wanting to sub me. I knew it wasn't you. I thought I got rid of those. I guess I didn't.
So there's one left that won't go away, and I reported it multiple times, and then it blocked me. So there is one still on there. I'm pretty sure it's that one.
Yeah, I've had a hell of a time on Blue Sky. For the longest time, they thought I was the fake, and they locked out my account because they thought I was the fake. I think it took me like 3 months to get that fixed.
Yeah, so me writing them.
Yeah, Jill writing them, me writing them.
I think other people wrote to them too.
No telling who all. And finally, someone at Blue Sky personally emailed me. Like, someone that worked there emailed me. It's like, hey, I'm trying to figure this out. Like, yes, Juju, I'm on Blue Sky. Blue Sky, Substack, X, and Threads.
And be careful on Blue Skies, Juju. There are 2 of them, and the other one has a lot of followers as well.
It's Mr. Global. Look for the one with, what do I have? I think I have 25,000 followers. I don't have a huge following there because I started the account. And not long after I started my Blue Sky account, I got locked out of it for being a fake Mr. Global. So it sat there for a long time. And when they lock you out, you can still post, but nobody but you can see your content unless they physically go to your page and look at it.
You have 24.4.
24.4 thousand. You can tell it's me because it's mostly links to my YouTube videos. Is mostly what I post there. I post that, and I post this show here, asking people to come join. I'm not on Rumble.
And if you go to mine, Jilly/J, I take him constantly.
Canada needs to cut our oil and electricity to the northern border states. Thank you, Juju. Yeah, it's tough when you have so many fakes and scammers. And it, it's especially tough for me because I'm in the oil and gas business, so I'm a perfect person to fake because I can offer people, the fakes can offer people investment opportunities in oil and gas. Like it, just who I am sets up an entire scam, right? Sets up an entire scam, and that's why I'm faked more than probably anybody on the damn internet, except for maybe Elon Musk.
Are you telling me that those Elon that follow me is not real?
No, Elon is not following you. That's not a
I mean,
thing. That's not a thing.
that's kind of sad.
Is it?
No, not really.
How long before Trump lifts the sanctions for Putin? I don't know that he's going to. I don't know that he's going to. So we'll have to see. I'm not telling people that that's what he's going to do. What I'm telling people is things to look out for if he was going to do it. And if you start seeing Donald Trump talk about BRICS a lot, and he did come out today and talk about BRICS, but it's tariffs he wants to put on BRICS nations. So that doesn't really jive with what I was talking about the other day. So we'll just have to see. Hi, Annie Ray. Munchie says they're trying to already news reporting easing sanctions. I haven't seen that, but what do you think about doing a parody of Elon with one of your mini chainsaws? Oh man, I I don't know if I need the money that bad, but it might be funny. It's a pretty good idea. I just have to get over the idea of parodying Elon Musk. NPR interview today with Canadian officials said the tariffs would raise gas prices 75 cents a liter. I think that's a little high. I personally, they might be right, but I personally think that's high. I think that's really high. That's a lot more than anybody else is predicting. So did you see Mike Myers Elon? I actually didn't see that. I saw like little clips of it on social media, but I didn't watch the thing, right?
It was funny.
I don't know if you saw, but I'm also another thing I'm predicting is that we're going to have to bail out the farmers here probably in the next 6 months. Be looking for that. We're going to have to bail out the farmers. Canada's retaliatory tariffs are targeting red states and farmers specifically. The farmers are about to go through shit. The farmers are about to go through some shit. The list of things Canada is putting tariffs on against farmers is like a mile long. But, what do you expect? That's what Donald Trump's doing to Canadian farmers. Are Canadian farmers any different than American farmers? Other than they're north of some line we created? Yeah, a lot of people talking about potash, and the potash thing. I'm still kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with that. The potash thing could be really bad for farmers in the United States. If you can't get fertilizer, or you can't afford fertilizer, you're in a. My whole family's farmers. I'm telling you, that's not good. Yeah, we bailed out a lot of farmers the last administration. What are gas prices by the 4th of July? That depends. If the economy doesn't fall into a deep recession, and I don't know that it will, but let's just say it doesn't, okay? Let's just say GDP, let's just say it's even zero. No growth, no loss. Let's just call it that, right? Because who knows where GDP is going to come in. But let's just say it's zero. That way it's bad, but it could be worse, and it's not great, right? It's just kind of, whatever. You're probably looking at 350 a gallon, 340 to 350 a gallon on a national average. If the economy collapses, which some people are predicting, I don't know if it's going to, all bets are off on gas prices. We'll have to see how the recession would impact global commodity prices. We'll have to see. Keep in mind that in the event of a deep recession, there's a very good chance OPEC would come out, slice oil production by a lot to prop up oil prices. So there's a lot of data that needs to be compiled, and a lot of things need to happen before I could possibly begin to predict gas prices in the middle of an economy that's collapsing. Because our government and other governments will respond in certain ways to that, and how they respond is what's going to dictate those gas prices. But even in a really bad crash, I don't think we're going to see gas prices fall to like COVID levels. That's not a thing. My understanding in the news up here is that Canada has alternative options for export in potash, given the, I think you mean USMCA agreement was nullified by Trump, basically. U.S. stores of potash will go elsewhere now. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Keep in mind that even during the Great Recession, we had a huge crash in commodity prices, like oil prices crashed, but they didn't stay there that long. They actually recovered, fairly quickly. They recovered far before the crash, before we came out of the crash. Tanya's going to go get sloshed. Have fun, Tanya. Milagro says they will not bail out farmers. The corporate farms will buy them out. That's also a possibility. Dylan says GDP Now has provided an absolute forecast error of 0.5% for the first 5.5 years the tool was available online. The period leading up to the COVID-19 pandemic. That's exactly what I was looking for, Dylan. Thank you so much for that. So, forecast error of 0.5%.
So I messaged my brother-in-law about what's happening, right? He still hasn't responded back to me. He's probably at work, probably working. But anyway, he's an economics teacher or whatever. I don't even know. But anyhow, he went to school for that shit. So I'm waiting for his answer, and I'll ask him what to look at, right? I'll ask him what to look at.
Is natural gas going to rally? It's already rallying today. The last time I looked, I don't know where it's at, right now, but right before we came on, it was up, I think, 26 cents today. which is like, I think it was up like 5%. So it's already rallying. And keep in mind, you know, I've told you this before. If we do enter into a crash, and oil production in the United States falls very much at all, natural gas prices are going to freaking skyrocket. Just understand that right now. Natural gas prices are going to go through the roof, and that is what impacts your utility bills. Captain Fun, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I work with someone that will get Starbucks every day but complains about gas prices. Currently in Rochester, New York, we pay about $3.15 a gallon. Yes, see that a lot. We see that a lot. I see that every day too. People will spend ridiculous amounts of money on stupid shit and then complain about gas prices. So are the tariffs Mexico and Canada, also China? 25% on Canada and Mexico. There's currently 10% on China. They're going to double that to 20. Gas is $2.72 a gallon where I live. It was $2.49 on election day. So it's up, what, 23 cents. But, I mean, that's normal market fluctuation. Why will natural gas go up? Natural gas will go up. So a large portion of the natural gas we produce in the United States right now is associated natural gas that comes with oil production. Oil wells, some oil wells, a lot of oil wells in West Texas, Western Anadarko Basin, Eagle Ford, a lot of these oil wells actually produce a significant amount of gas. If you start losing that production, you also start losing natural gas production. And we just set a record in February for LNG exports. We exported more LNG out of the United States in February than we ever had in history. Natural gas inventories are dropping. Natural gas supply is short because we just went through about an 18-month period where natural gas prices were really low. And natural gas was under $2 for a long time. So we curbed production. We laid down drilling rigs because it wasn't affordable anymore. And natural gas is coming back very quickly. Demand is growing unbelievably fast, 4% a year. If we lose the natural gas production growth from lost oil production, natural gas prices are going to skyrocket because we're not ready. We're not ready to meet natural gas demand because we're literally just now coming out of this period of very low natural gas prices that shut down a lot of the work that's going on. So we've had nearly 2 years of lower rig counts in the natural gas space. So we're not producing enough natural gas is what I'm saying. We've just ran straight into a shortage. And that's why natural gas is $4.11 or $4.12 today. If we start losing, we will lose natural gas production, associated natural gas production from oil wells faster than we will gain natural gas production from gas wells. It will cause a much larger differential in supply and demand, and natural gas prices are going to go way up if this happens. If it don't, they're still going to go up, right? They're still going up even with this not happening. They're going to go up a lot more if this does happen. So we'll see. We'll see. But they're going to, even if you know, we've been predicting natural gas prices to rise for a while, and one of the reasons we've been predicting it is because oil production growth in the United States was going to be flat. Like, we weren't going to keep increasing oil production. It was going to stay about the same. That alone is causing natural gas prices to rise, much less a drop in oil production. So if all this happens and we see depressed oil prices that causes drillers in the United States to pull back even more, you can see natural gas prices go up significantly. Would an increase in oil prices also increase prices of kerosene? We use it for heating. Yes, it would. Kerosene is a direct derivative of oil, and the price of it is directly correlates with the price of a barrel of oil, so it would. But I don't expect to see oil prices go up. Not with everything that's going on. How are oil reserves doing? We have 395 million barrels in the strategic reserve. We have about another 400 million barrels in storage around the country. Our oil reserves are doing fine. Dow Jones is down 800 points, 1.8%. Yeah, there's just a lot of downward pressure on oil prices right now. There's not really much going on that's putting upward pressure on them. Dan wanted to see this graphic bigger. This is the Fed showing a 2.8% contraction in GDP for the first quarter of 2025, right here. This right here, if you can see my little arrow from my mouse, this is where it was Friday. This is where it is today. That's not good. This is where it was, what, a week ago? 2 weeks ago? This is where it's at today. So we don't know how accurate this is. This is a forecast. We'll have to see what happens. Where does the government buy oil for the strategic reserves from? Any specific company? No. So what they do is they solicit bids, and they put out solicitations and say, hey, we want to buy 4 million barrels of oil. Keep in mind, the strategic reserve, about half of it is light sweet and half of it is heavy sour. So typically, when they buy oil, they typically buy 50% of one, 50% of another, all of the light sweet that they buy for the strategic reserve will come from oil companies within the United States. The heavy sour crude could come from anywhere. It could come from Canada. It could come from the Gulf. It could come from Saudi Arabia. It could come from anywhere, right? Whoever offers the lowest price for their oil is who wins, right? It's like the opposite of an auction. And instead of selling something, you're buying something. Whoever delivers me the lowest price wins. Another thing they do with oil companies in the United States that drill on federal lands is they do exchanges. Thank you so much for the gifts. Thank you so much. They do exchanges. So if an oil company owes the federal government a bunch of money in royalties from oil they've produced, they can pay the federal government in oil instead of greenbacks. And they'll do what's called an exchange. So if you owe the U.S. Treasury, or more specifically the Department of Interior, if you owe them an amount of money that's equivalent to, say, 100,000 barrels of oil, they can just stick 100,000 barrels of oil in the SPR and we're even. So there's multiple ways that can go about. But the answer is we get the oil from everywhere. But the light sweet oil we typically just get from the United States. That oil is kept along the Gulf Coast in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve and underground salt caverns. Heavy sour from Canada? Yeah, we get the heavy sour from wherever we can. Whoever offers it to us at the lowest price. Thank you for the gifts. Does the USA need Canadian oil? Well, it's good for business, right? We don't need it. Like, physically need it because we're going to die without it. Like, we can get that oil anywhere, but if we don't get it from Canada, our gas prices are going to rise. Profit margins in the midstream sector of the U.S. oil and gas industries will shrink significantly. Um, so the word need is kind of a, you know, we need it if we like cheap gas. We need it. They're our closest ally. It's always best to buy and trade with your closest ally. If they were to cut us off from oil, that wouldn't be a big deal. We could just get it somewhere else. But our gas prices would certainly increase. That is for sure. Our gas prices would certainly increase. So I guess it depends on your definition of the word need. It's not going to shut down the country. Nothing terrible is going to happen. But you will see oil prices rise. You will see gas prices rise if they cut us off. 100%. 100%. But it doesn't mean we'll run out of oil. Doesn't mean we'll run out of diesel. That's not a thing. We're not going to run out of anything. It just means we're going to have to pay more. And no, I don't think Canada will shut off crude oil to the United States, because it'll bankrupt the companies in Canada. It'll do more harm to companies in Canada than it will to the United States. It's I know there's a sentiment out there. A lot of people want to see it happen, or it's not a good thing. It would not be a good thing for Canada to do. It would really hurt their economy, put a lot of people out of work. It would probably drive Canada into a very deep recession. That's a huge portion of their GDP is the oil that they produce and sell. I don't think they will. I don't think they will. There's nothing that could convince me that they will do that until it actually happened, and then I would just say, okay, I was wrong. There's nobody that can convince me that will ever happen. So. Because the problem is Canada can't just take that oil and sell it to someone else. They can't. They don't have access. They don't have access to all these global markets because they're limited on their pipeline capacity, right? So if they had options, right? If they had a pipeline to the East Coast, if they had more capacity going either direction, the thing is they just don't, right? They just don't. So I would be just unbelievably shocked if that happened. Will the Saudis crush oil prices? No, I don't think they will. Can they? Yes. Yes. The Saudis could crash the global oil market in about an hour. They have 5 million barrels a day of spare capacity. They don't even have to actually physically do it. They could just say they're going to do it and the market would completely crash. Just like they can come out and say, we're going to cut production. They may not even do it, but it'll drive the price of oil up and they'll make a bunch of money. So what would happen if Canada doesn't give the United States their potash? Well, the United States would have to find it somewhere and hope they can find it. I mean, gotta have it. Gotta have it. What happens to me personally if the oil prices drop? Sounds good to me. Yeah. That depends. That depends. If oil prices drop because of an economic collapse, I hope you have a recession proof job. If you don't have a recession proof job, then it could absolutely impact you personally. But I don't know what you do for a living, but I'm a little I'm a little more concerned that you don't care what happens to anybody as long as it doesn't affect you. It will affect a lot of people. You know, this would not be oil prices falling due to like natural market fluctuations or just things that markets do naturally. This would be a crash brought about by terrible policy, and those tend to have a really negative effect on the entire economy and a lot of the people that exist in that economy. So at this point, there's no recession proof jobs. I wouldn't say that. There's definitely jobs that are recession proof. A lot of healthcare jobs are somewhat recession proof. You know, certain essential things, you know, people need, right? I did not mean to scare you. Market's down 1,000. Okay. Smarty Pants and Undertaker is recession proof. That's true. I just don't want to be one. Do you, Jill?
No.
Oh man. Brick says down 648, not 1,000 as of now. Thank you, Brick. We want accurate information. That's why I'm pulling it up because I don't want to be repeating misinformation. So, yeah, I'm showing 678 right now that it's down. So, not as bad. My buddy, my buddy pumped septic for a living. He's never been affected by anything. Shit's got to go somewhere. Yeah,
That's such a trumper.
you gotta, you gotta, you gotta take care of the shit, right? No matter what, people are still gonna shit no matter what. uh, what a day! What a day! I'm tired. Goals for today: find a recession-proof job involving shit. Yes. Not a bad goal. Not a bad goal. Social Security and Medicaid. I haven't, you know, I haven't heard any more about that, and I don't have anything, concrete on it. I went to the Chinese buffet yesterday. There's no longer egg in the fried rice. Well, Mr. G, do you trade or hedge futures? No, I do not. Fissel, he's in aerospace. Adding tariff costs making my job nearly impossible. All military equipment. It probably is, Isaac. It's probably the rice from the day before. Yeah. Thank you, Impasha. Put that up. I see Trump is looking to loosen some restrictions on Russia, as you predicted. A couple of people have said that. I haven't seen that. Um, I haven't seen that. Warren Buffett made a rare comment about tariffs today. The good news is fuel prices will drop with people not being able to afford to buy anything. You will, if that occurs and you save, I don't know, $50 a month in gas, you're going to need it because you're going to spend $300 more a month on utilities. Who is Uncle Roger? I feel Uncle Roger going into chat. What about the cyber surveillance thing? So I saw a bunch of content, people making a bunch of videos about that, saying that we had cut off um, both offensive and defensive cyber intelligence with Russia. Everything I found was that it was offensive only. It was things we were doing to help Ukraine. And what I read was they dropped it as part of the peace negotiations. So I don't know if I don't know how much of an effect that'll have because Europe is really doing most of that. Is my understanding. Uncle Roger is a chef review guy. He's pretty funny. Is he on YouTube? I have to go look him up. Uncle Roger's on YouTube. I'm going to go find Uncle Roger and follow him. I do follow the people you guys like on YouTube. I can't remember his name. One of them tagged me in a video today and I responded to it. He was asking about something. Please explain the relation of refining capacity to gas prices. So, the relationship of refining capacity to gas prices. So, what happens when you lose refining capacity? The refineries that you have left have to run at a much higher rate, right? Their utilization rates have to increase significantly. And instead of running at optimal capacities like 80, 85%, they start running at 90, 95%. When your refineries are running over 95 or over 90% capacity, they're working very hard. They become very inefficient because they're having to use an exponential more amount of energy than they normally would. That 10% means a lot. A refinery can basically, what's the word I want to use, can basically kind of idle at 80, 85%. You get that thing up to 90, 95%, it's working really hard, right? When it's working really hard, you have a lot of breakdowns. You have to stop, fix stuff. Working really hard at extreme temperatures is really bad. So there's a lot of problems that come about from having to operate existing refineries at levels above they should be operating at. That creates a lot more problems and it greatly reduces your spare capacity. You need a lot of spare capacity. You know, if a 300,000 barrel a day refinery goes down for maintenance, then you need 300,000 barrels a day of spare capacity to make up for that. So there's not a huge spike in gas prices. When all the refineries are running at such a high capacity with super high utilization rates, there's no spare capacity. Refineries break down more. And they tend to domino where one goes down. Before it comes back up, the next one goes down. Before it comes back up, the next one. And then you basically work your way into a period of elevated gas prices. You need spare capacity in your refining operations to keep everything stable. Spare capacity is sort of equal to like baseload power when you're talking about electricity. When you're generating electricity, consuming electricity, you need a lot of baseload power. That's a consistent level of power that doesn't change no matter what. And then you can add wind power and solar power and other types of power on top of your baseload, but you got to maintain that baseload. When you have reduced refining capacity, the only thing you have is the base load and you have nothing above it, right? So you end up experiencing shortages and higher gas prices. Cost goes up with square of flow throughput. That's exactly right. Sometimes it's very hard to explain these things in ways people can understand them. You won't often hear me use terms like throughput, things like that, because a lot of my audience doesn't understand a lot of the lingo. So if you see me thinking, I'm trying to figure out how to explain it to you where it makes sense, right? It's like if you were explaining to me how to do heart surgery, I would need you to really, talk to me like I'm a fifth grader, right? Because I don't know what you're talking about. They can wear themselves out because they don't have time to shut down for maintenance. That's exactly right. That's another great way to put it. Like how much you turn on the faucet. Why haven't we? I'm just curious. Does anybody know why we haven't turned on the faucet in North Carolina and South Carolina where they're having all those fires? Why don't we just turn on the faucet? Is that not a thing? Do they not have the faucet that California has? Do you know the answer to that, Jill?
No, I don't think they do. California's like special, and they got this great faucet, and Canada also has that faucet though.
Oh yeah, Canada. Canada's got the best faucet.
They do. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, just that's the greatest faucet ever. I wish I had a faucet like that in my yard.
Trump sometimes turns it on for them. He
Yeah.
like goes there personally and just he got all them muscles and he just grabs that thing and he just turns it like he's Rambo.
I mean, he is Rambo. Haven't you seen the pictures?
I have.
Oh my God. You're killing me. His little hands have trouble turning it on.
But he's so strong. Do you know he is?
I did notice that, you know, the thing that flew under the radar, the story that flew under the radar that a lot of people didn't talk about is the Trump administration reversed all the things they did in California. Apparently, a lot of people got in their ear and said, "Hey, dumbass, you shouldn't have done that. That's not a thing." But it was too late, because we'd already sent however many billion gallons of water down the damn river or wherever we sent it to, somewhere it wasn't supposed to be.
Yes.
That is true. Trump is a felon and he would need permission to get into Canada.
Yes.
He's not like me. He can't just cross the border with my little passport. I can just go to Canada, like Donald Trump can't.
Well, that's why he only turned on the California one.
Yeah, that's true. 437 people on TikTok. Man, thank you guys for joining us today, taking questions. We're talking energy, politics, whatever. I'm going to reset my goal.
There are 98 on YouTube.
A little bit more every day. Where's Bob? I figured Bob would be in here. Oil hit $68 today. He's probably eating cake and crumpets. He's probably celebrating. Do I have a preference on where you watch? If you have questions that you would really like to get answered, you'll have a lot better luck on YouTube because the chat's slower. There's like 500 people here, and there's, I guess, 100 or whatever on YouTube. But no, I mean, I guess I would prefer YouTube, but you can watch anywhere you want. Like it's not a big deal.
All his graphs, pictures, things like that he's talking about are on YouTube, though.
Yeah, I can show you a lot more stuff on YouTube you won't see on TikTok. Can you talk about U.S. refining capacity compared to countries like Canada and Mexico? Well, U.S. refining capacity compared to Canada is about the same. Um, when all this stuff started, people were saying Canada can't refine their oil. That's also what they say about the United States. Neither one of those are true. Canada can refine all the oil they need for their own consumption. They just can't refine all the oil they export to us, but they don't need to refine it. It's destined to be exported. So to build a refinery for something you're going to export makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense because you can just sell your raw products to other countries, right? Mexico's not in as great a shape of refining capacity than the United States and Canada. They need a little more help. But they have a lot of problems with cartels and stuff that, even if they, I think the new refinery that opened up last year, I think it's currently down because cartels. I'm not sure. That deal might be over. But so Canada's not quite as good as the United States and Mexico. But it's not near as bad as anyone says when they talk about refining capacity in the U.S. or Canada. Could we use a little more? Absolutely. Would it drive down gas prices? Absolutely. But it's not bad, right? Where do you think we are headed with stagflation? Credit stress? Probably. Probably. Are we experiencing stagflation? If you think about it, all the things that Donald Trump wants to do can be achieved through a deep recession. He wants lower gas prices. A deep recession can get you that. He wants lower interest rates. A deep recession can definitely get you that. I've been sharing your Trump OPEC deal videos. I was so confused why the Democrats didn't hammer that during the election. Second, how serious is the GDP data? I don't know why the Democrats didn't. The Democrats built a couple of different narratives for high gas prices when Joe Biden was in office, and neither one of them was true. And for the entirety of the Biden administration, I was telling people, this is not true. They're full of shit. They're lying to you. And it got to the point where when they came out with a couple of different narratives that were completely false and detached from reality, at that point, they couldn't come back later and tell the truth. They couldn't come back later and say, yeah, this is actually Donald Trump's OPEC 2020 deal. They couldn't do that. Finally, that congressman from, I can't even remember where he was from, he stood up on the House floor a couple of weeks ago and said it. First time a Democrat has said that, by the way, in Congress. It's the first time they told the truth about gas prices. They had everyone believing that, we weren't drilling. They had everyone believing that oil companies were price gouging you. They even came up with the fuel price gouging bill that they passed in the House, which was a complete lie. That whole bill was a lie. Katie Porter came up with this bill to reduce your gas prices, a price gouging bill. Told you it was going to reduce your gas prices every day. That whole thing was a lie. It was a political ploy to get Republicans on record for voting against it. What they didn't tell you was that bill would only apply to retailers during emergency situations. It had absolutely no impact on oil companies whatsoever. Oil companies weren't going to be affected by it. The only people who's going to be affected by it are retailers who charge a lot more for gas during times of emergency, during state of emergency. That's what that whole bill was. It had nothing to do with lowering your gas prices on a day-to-day basis. Nothing at all. And it was not good politics for them. You know, Melissa says, or Chris says it was good politics. It wasn't good politics. The only way that could have been good politics is if they would have stuck with what they started with. And when they started changing, it all went out the window. But they were pushing their own agenda. They were pushing their climate agenda. They were pushing EVs. So they wanted people to hate oil companies as much as possible, as if people need any help hating oil companies. People already hate oil companies. But when the whole world thinks that oil companies are the reason we had high gas prices, when it was literally Donald Trump and MBS and Vladimir Putin, could that sway the vote? Probably. If you look at the final numbers, I think Will Westmoreland told me that was it 20 something thousand, maybe 30,000 votes could have flipped the election. You got all these people voting on gas prices and inflation, right? They tied inflation to the gas prices. I thought it was a huge failure, but I'm not a political strategist. Dow closed down at 650 basically. Are we great yet? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think we are. I feel like we're not great yet. I don't know exactly like what kind of measuring stick we use to determine that. I don't think we are. I don't think we're there yet. What do you think, Jill? Are we great yet?
No, I don't think we've been great for a while, but forever, actually.
They are drawing up a plan to lift sanctions. You called it Mr. Global. I still have not seen that myself. I guess I need to start looking.
You need to start looking at that, yes.
Because a lot of people are saying it.
Yeah.
Because I won't repeat what someone else says. I have to see it for myself.
Well, yeah, of course.
Well, it's being reported by Reuters, so there's one source, but we'll see.
They're pretty good source.
Huh?
They're a pretty good source.
White House seeks relief, or White House seeks plan for possible Russia sanctions relief. Sources say White House has asked State and Treasury to draft options for easing Russian sanctions.
So did they watch your video and then write an article, or what?
That's possible. That's why you never know where your content will end up and who will end up looking at it. And so, I mean, it's completely possible someone saw my video, but so that's why I have to check and double check and triple check these things and see if there's any validity to them, because
Yeah, that's why I check and double check and triple check, because I'm like, did they watch his video?
Quite a few things have happened after people watched my videos. So yeah, this is not unusual. White House, this is from The Guardian. I'm not super familiar with The Guardian. I don't know if they're. White House directs officials to draft proposal to lift U.S. sanctions on Russia.
I think The Guardian isn't, I don't know much about The Guardian.
I want something straight from the White House. Let's go look at the Department of State and see what they have to say.
You should check Fox News. They're the best. I'm sorry, I can't even say that without laughing.
A lot of people are reporting it. A lot of people are reporting it. Do you think the Keystone XL will be finished? I don't. I don't think it will. But, I mean, I could be wrong. I did a video earlier today showing people how pipelines don't lower gas prices. It's never happened. Never happened. And in that video, I show you the Alaskan pipeline, right? The Alaskan pipeline in its day was the largest pipeline project ever in the United States, and it opened in 1977. Gas prices were never lower than they were before it opened. Gas prices rose more than doubled within a year, and stayed basically at least twice as much as they used to be throughout the life of the Alaskan pipeline, right? Uh, the second largest pipeline project ever in the United States, the Keystone, it opened. Gas prices went up for 4 years. Didn't lower gas prices. Pipelines don't lower the price of anything for the consumer. That's not a thing. Okay. Um, Lee Eckert says the Guardian is legit. Okay, thanks, Lee. The Guardian is usually accurate. Okay. I'm in Kodiak. Gas prices haven't been below $4.37 in 2 years. Isn't the XL tar sand? Um, the oil that would go into the Keystone XL would not be tar sand. Uh, Tar sand does not flow through pipelines. Okay, so it goes, it either it either gets hit with a diluent or it goes through an upgrading process, right? It might be upgraded to Syncrude or something, but it's not tar. It's not in tar sand state when it's in the pipeline. It's in a liquid state, right? Doesn't it have to be processed more? Not really, because, when we get Canadian oil into the United States, we already blend it with our light sweet. So we're not refining Canadian oil over here and American oil over there. That's not how it works. All of this oil is blended together into one product and refined. So the refining process is the same, pretty much, because it's all blended together. Now, if you only refined that oil and that oil alone by itself, would it look a little different? Yes. Is it enough to impact the price of a gallon of gas? No, not really. But all of this oil is blended together and refined. It's blended to meet a certain specific gravity, and then it's pushed through the refinery, right?
So someone asked if you give out your personal email address. If an account is giving you an email address to email them, it's not him.
I feel like when talking about light sweet, it sounds more like a tea than an oil. Well, they do call it Texas tea. They do call it Texas tea. What was the intention of the key? You mean the Keystone XL? The intention of the Keystone XL was to open up WCS to the broader global market to increase the price of it. That was the intention of the Keystone XL. Does the 10% ethanol in the gas here in Western Kentucky really hurt my car like someone told me? I don't think so, but I mean, I've always run it. I've never had a problem. Some mechanics will tell you that it's harder on gaskets and things like that. Um, but people all over the United States use that gas, and you know, car engines run longer than they ever have. So I mean, it's certainly not as good as just straight gas, but that doesn't mean it's going to hurt your motor. It doesn't mean it's going to blow up your motor, right? It's not as good in quality. That is true. Oops. Oh.
What are we looking and what are we laughing at?
Oh, you'll see. I'm sure you'll see.
Oh, I can't see what you do.
Nothing I haven't done before. You might check on Barrister.
Did you
Uh,
did you block Barrister? Now I have to unblock him.
Hey, I mean, what the hell? I thought he was a Trumper. Do I have to unblock him?
No, I got him.
You can
I
fix it?
found it.
Okay. I I was gonna go unblock him. I just like blocking Barrister. It's fun. Sorry, barrister. Not.
Just, that is messed up.
Why is it messed up?
But then I had to go searching for him.
Is it really that hard to find barrister?
No, but he wasn't at the top, so I had to search. But I did find him. And you better re-add him as a friend, because once you block them, they are not friends anymore.
Well, that's what I was asking you, if I had to do that.
They're
I don't know how this works.
I was trying to unblock him, catch up on chat, you know, all that stuff. That's why I didn't get to you right away.
Was it 428?
Yeah.
I never joined TikTok. Did I miss out? I mean, you missed out on a lot of dumb fuckery, if that's what you mean. Thank you, Ely. Amber, are you on an oxygen machine?
What? No, that's the computer running my cat.
I cannot be silenced, he says.
I had the phone sitting by the computer. All right. He cannot be signed. Did you re-add him, Barrister re-add Global?
I know you cannot be silenced. That's why I block you anyway. Block Fuzzard. I block Fuzzard all the time. Barrister and Fuzzard.
It's right next. It was right next to the computer. I moved it. You shouldn't be hearing it anymore.
Okay, Barrister, just followed you back.
I have like 6 fans.
Do you remember when Ford had to really tell EcoBoost customers not to put E85 in their tanks? I don't remember that. I'm sure it's true. I just don't remember it. I was probably driving a GMC back then. Why did I block Barrister? Because I can. And it's funny. I have a live goal for corn. And please gift the moderator if you guys don't mind. If you have any corn laying around. Barrister enjoys the punishment. I believe he does. That's why I do it. Have I worked with Payzone Pete Vollmer, a well site consultant? Not to my knowledge. I don't think I've worked with Payzone Pete. Thank you, Wolfie. Can we get a training session on the EIA weekly gasoline blending components in Pad 2? I think you can find that in the STEO. Like the EIA is moving so much stuff to the STEO. Does everyone have a mafia name in the industry? I've had a couple of different nicknames, but I don't think that's a. One of my members on YouTube, Roman, he made this for me. Well, I'll put it on a T-shirt too. I've never heard of GDP Now and the Atlanta Fed. Have they always been the ones to make GDP predictions, or are they one of many? How reliable are they? So that's what we've been kind of trying to figure out is how reliable that is. Um, I've heard of them, but I've never had to pay much attention to them as far as their accuracy and stuff. So, um, we're trying to see how historically accurate they are. Someone commented earlier that they've been accurate within a half a point margin. We'll have to see. One of the things that kind of is a red flag for me is this isn't widely reported, and that's kind of a red flag for me. Now, a lot of people are reporting this. When I mean it's not widely reported, I mean it's not widely reported from other organizations as well, right? It's all coming from this one place. Um, I would certainly feel better if there was multiple agencies or organizations saying something similar. So Ryan says fee speak is in my wheelhouse. Atlanta is fairly accurate. Fed speak. Okay. Thank you, Ryan. You know, and I was thinking, even if they're not that accurate, 2.8%, like they could be way off and it still be really bad, right? Thank you for that, Ryan. I do try to tread lightly on some of these things and try to ensure that I'm giving people the best information I can. And that's why. Hey, Rusty. Hey, Matt. Enjoy a windy day on location in South Texas. Remind me, are the oil contracts settled on the third Thursday of the month? They used to be, unless something changed. If that's what you're remembering, that's what I'm remembering too. Um, I seriously doubt that would change. I don't. There's no reason why it should or would. Thank you for the rose, Misty. Thanks everyone for the gifts. I really appreciate it.
Yep, thank you everyone for the gifts.
I bet it's nice and warm where Rusty's at in South Texas. Even at a 0.5%, it's still 2.3. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, even if they're way off, it's still really bad. Thank you. Thank you very much. I came in late. What chart are we looking at? So this is the chart from the Atlanta Fed. This is their forecast. I'm going to blow it up for you here a little bit. This is their forecast for GDP growth first quarter 2025. We were at 2.9% right here. Basically, February the 1st, pretty much. This has fallen. So the forecast for GDP growth in the United States is now at a negative 2.8%. So they're predicting a contraction in our economy of 2.8%. That's huge, right? Just a couple of days ago, it was 1.5%. They've revised it down further to 2.8%. And then if you look at the GDP number for fourth quarter 2024, we had 2.3% GDP growth, right? So you take that differential, you take the drop from 2.8 or 2.3 to negative 2.8, you get a 5.1% drop in GDP growth quarter over quarter. That's Great Recession type numbers right there. That puts us between the first and second worst GDP quarters of the Great Recession. So if this is accurate, we could be in for a pretty significant recession. Keep in mind, this is just a forecast. So we've been trying to kind of figure out, the historical accuracy of the Atlanta Fed. Ryan tells us they're pretty accurate, within 0.5%. So we'll just have to see what happens. This model here is called GDP Now. It's a constant running model, right? So it's constantly changing. So this could improve or it could get worse. I hope it starts improving. We have almost an entire month to go. So hopefully this gets better over the month. Yeah, it's a forecast. We will know. When do they release the GDP numbers? Probably first week of March or first week of April is when we'll know. Seems pretty bad to me. I predict they will be blaming Biden. They already are. They're already blaming Biden, and they're already saying that we need to change the way we calculate GDP. Kind of like they did with COVID tests. If we just stop testing for COVID, there'll be less cases. That's the same thing they're wanting to do here. They just want to change the way we calculate GDP because it doesn't look good for them.
Yes, and he also wants to take the medication because then if he takes the medication, then there won't be no children with ADHD or any other health issues.
Right.
Yeah, same thing.
Why not just make up numbers? That's a good point. Why not just make up numbers? Just make it up. Maybe I can get that job. Maybe I can get the job of being the person that just makes up the numbers. Oh, they come out today and they want to change it. They want to change the way we figure the GDP. Basically, what they want to do is they want to take all government spending out of the calculation for GDP. They want to take all government spending out of the way they calculate GDP. Even though a lot of government spending drives GDP, right? Our entire military is a jobs program, right? I mean, yeah, this is from the Atlanta Fed. So Trump's first 4 years was good because it was Obama's economy, but now not. Well, if Trump hadn't isn't trying to do like 15 different things to crash the entire economy, like if he had just left everything alone, then we could certainly look at, you know, if this is something Biden did. But these are things that you can directly point to, right? You're basically firing how many hundreds of thousands of people are going to lose their jobs this quarter? Tariffs, just all the things that are going on. You know what I mean? It's having an effect on the economy. It's having an effect on the stock market. And by the way, Donald Trump's own words. It, I would find it difficult to blame Biden when Donald Trump's own words. He even says this is going to be painful. So you try to look for what caused it. If Biden did something to cause it, then I would say so. Just show me what that is.
They can't help themselves. They have to blame him.
Well, of
They
course,
have.
I mean that's just politics. Of course they're going to blame him, right? I mean that's politics. But some people just look at what happens and then go from there instead of starting with politics. When you start with politics, you're going to be wrong every time. That's how it works. That's why you look at data and information, right?
Yeah, that is why.
Yeah, that's exactly why. People forget the Fed lowered and the bond market called their bluff immediately. Mr. Global, why are so many people not researching or looking at data anymore? Because politics is more important than facts. Sanctions talk on Russia is happening just like you said it would. Jill,
Yes.
how many times does this have to happen?
I don't know.
How many times do I have to accurately predict something?
I don't know.
Good God. Before people say, oh, maybe he's onto something. And the thing is, when I do make predictions, I don't make predictions like half-ass. If I'm not pretty much 100% sure, I'll just shut up about it until I am. When I make a prediction, I am super confident in my prediction, or I wouldn't make it at all. I'm very conservative when it comes to that kind of stuff. Which is why I'm very good at it, because I'm very hard on myself when I'm doing it. Like I just won't talk about it if it's a 50-50 deal. I'm not making a prediction on a 50-50 deal. It's got to be 95% or better. No, I can you predict when we might wake up to a normal world? I cannot. I cannot. That's not a thing. Can't be done. If I could predict lotto numbers, I wouldn't be here, Dano. Man, that thing is loud. Thank you so much for the gifts. I really appreciate that.
It is really loud.
Well, I turned my volume way up so I can, so the people can hear
You
you.
ain't gonna be able to do that. It's through TikTok. It'll still be loud no matter what.
Yeah, but over here it won't be. It's loud here because I turned my volume all the way up so people on YouTube can hear you talk. People want to hear you, Jill, whether you like it or not.
Okay.
Thank you so much for helping me reach my goal. I look good with a mustache.
So are you gonna grow one now?
I can't. I don't think I can. I don't think I could grow a mustache. Have you ever seen Joe Dirt's mustache? That's what mine would look like.
Oh shit! Then don't do that.
There'd be like some here and some over here. One right in the middle of my cheek, just random sprout. Like, yeah.
Yeah, don't do that.
I'm not. I'm not going to do that. Will the U.S. continue buying the same amount of oil from Canada even with the tariffs? Yes, we will, because even Canadian oil with the tariff on it is still cheaper than the alternatives. So we will continue to buy all of that oil with the tariffs on it. 100% we will. Why look at data when your cousin on Facebook can let you know how the government controls the weather? That's a good point, Karen. I think Jill's got a couple of those cousins.
I do actually. Yes, absolutely. I got a couple of them that predict the weather, predict everything. They think they're right about everything.
What cousin? Oh, that's great. All right, everyone, it's 4 o'clock. That means we're 2 hours in. We're going to shut her down. Thank you, everyone, so much for your gifts. We'll be back tomorrow, 2 o'clock Central Standard Time. Jill, have a great afternoon and evening. What's for dinner?
Roast beef sandwiches.
Oh, yeah, roast beef sandwiches. I don't know what we're having, but
Breaded roast beef.
thank you all so much for your gifts. I really appreciate y'all coming and joining us today. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.